Should I talk into the camera? Hello. Welcome back to The Immigration Guy. Happy freaking Wednesday. This is Adam Beckman. He has been my friend since I was like 4-ish.
High?
Yeah. And Adam was that tall through high school.
Exactly. I never really grew.
He also happens to be he runs all of our accounting functions for all of our businesses and does a fantastic job. So we're just happy to have him on the podcast and get to talk to him today. Hey, y'all. This is The Immigration Guy with Kyle Farmer.
Thank you, Kyle.
Welcome, Adam.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're definitely happy to have you. Welcome to your first podcast ever.
This is an honor to be with, a childhood best friend, one of my best friends, and pop my cherry.
I know. Exactly.
You gotta love it.
Drew's gonna, hey, cut. No, we don't actually cut.
No.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this one's going to run a little bit differently. Adam is here to ask me questions for which I have not been prepared. So Drew is prepared to cut extensively, should I say, stupid things.
Yeah, this is a little impromptu,
I like it.
We're just going to go for it.
I like it.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you having me on, Kyle. Thank you very much. I'd like the listeners to know a little bit more about you. Obviously I know a lot about you. So.
Yeah, we're probably not going to go that deep.
Yeah, we won't go that deep. We'll keep it a little more surface. But kind of the first question is, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got to this point, what you were like as a kid, and just kind of your background.
Sure. Let's start with what I was like as a kid.
Yes, please.
Actually, I think that we should both have input on this.
You're right. I can give a lot of input on this. I'll call you out on your BS.
Yes, I appreciate that. So as a kid, things that I was, had tons of energy. I loved sports. I did not like school, obviously,
Nope.
Because it was boring, and it was. And I liked doing all things outdoors. I liked eating Pop-Tarts, but I'd never have them in my house because you kept stealing them.
That's so true. I ate all the Pop-Tarts every single day.
So I wasn't very academic really until high school. And then during the financial crisis, we had a lot of trouble as a family. So made me care a lot more about my education, started to actually get good grades, which was I did not think was actually a possibility. It was one of those things where my parents would say things like, you could actually get good grades if you tried. And I was like, I don't know. I've been to school every day this year. And my grades still suck.
A lot of efforts going in, Mom. I'm showing up.
I know. It's like, let me see your notes. I'm like, I don't have those.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Aren't you supposed to read? Aren't you supposed to read?
Yeah.
What is this? Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was in boot camp. But then I started trying and kind of towards the end of high school and into college. Worked a lot in college. Didn't do anything fun in college. That was not my college experience.
So listeners, where'd you go to college?
Texas A&M. Ever heard of it?
It's a small school. I don't really know it. I'm more of a UT guy.
Oh God, get out. Cut! So I went to A&M. While at A&M, I did just basically work the whole time and went to school and actually studied somewhat. I still, look, school was still not my thing. My grades were fine.
Right.
But they weren't great. They were tolerable.
Yeah. You were getting through it.
I was getting through it, and I got through it within 4 years.
Better than me. Much better than me.
I thought you were going to have a PhD when you graduated.
I took the scenic route. Kyle.
You did. There were a few detours in there. So I started to, the only thing that I actually really liked in school was the LSAT. Started studying for the LSAT, did really well on it, and also taught it. So I started to excel there. And then I was teaching the LSAT and SAT and ACT and all sorts of standardized tests. I actually learned my junior year of college that the only tests I'm good at are multiple choice tests. And you would think you should not learn what kind of testing you're good at when you're 23.
Yeah, it's a little late. Better late than never, though.
That's true. And I switched my major from like an essay or from a multiple choice intensive to essay intensive. And my grades went straight down from there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I stuck it out, but I never put it together. Like maybe it has something to do with the type of test I'm taking. But anyway, so did well there. Started out at Baylor. Still working part-time and just going to school, and then I ended up transferring to Vanderbilt, and then went with my wife to Iowa. We met in law school. We went to Iowa to work for her dad's company. Basically, she wanted to work for her dad's company. I didn't, but I wanted to help anywhere I could. I continued to look for legal jobs, though, like in Des Moines and just around. And I never found another job, but I was helping him with his immigration work. More people started asking me for help there. Then people started asking me for, man, I would really like to do one of these programs, but I can't find people. So we started being able to find, like we started building a recruitment network in Mexico. And everything just kind of grew from there. Basically, the whole thing has been, if our client has a problem, we try to find a solution to that problem and then see who else needs that type of solution.
Yeah,
so
it's fascinating. How did you get hooked up with Mexico? What made you get roots there and start that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing was just how prolific it is in these different immigration programs. And so it's just the people that you meet. My father-in-law's company, all those guys came from Mexico. So you start to get to know them, and you get to know just other people in Mexico. Never went to Mexico. Not doing that.
Come on, Cancun's calling our name.
No, sir. I don't have a passport. I would, but I don't have a passport.
I know an immigration guy.
Yeah, people always think that's so ironic, but I'm like, no, dude, I'm trying to get people here.
Right.
I'm not trying to get people to leave here.
That is pretty ironic.
But yeah, so we started to build it in Mexico like that, and just kind of grown. And then clients started asking for help in other countries like South Africa. And so we started helping in South Africa and Guatemala, helping Guatemala, Brazil, all over.
It's wonderful. Yeah, just a big problem solving, Clients had the problems and you found the solutions.
Yeah, which is that's the fun thing. That's actually why I like my job. Like one of the things that we talk about in interviews with people is they're like, what makes you so passionate about immigration? Right. And I'm like, I'm not actually that passionate about immigration. Immigration as a concept is not that fascinating to me.
Right.
But the immigration is like the tool that we get to use to solve our clients' problems, and to help a lot of these people. Like these people are actually having a life-changing experience.
Yeah, definitely.
But immigration is just the tool.
Right.
I don't care about the hammer. I care about the structure.
Yeah.
I care about the output.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of cool. But no, don't really care that much about immigration. Just love it as a tool because it's very useful.
Yeah, well, that leads me to my next question. It's kind of
hit me with it.
What would you say your passions in life are? Like what really fuels you, and then how does that transfer over to your work and your career? I mean, you're kind of touching on that, but
yeah. I've always wanted to be able to be in a position to have. I guess the first thing that fueled me was wanting to have just a stable job myself.
Yeah.
Be able to provide for my family, for my kids, the whole shebang. But one thing that I've received a tremendous amount of value for since then is being able to provide others that same opportunity, being able to provide others stable jobs where you're not going to have to worry about, if you're doing your job, you don't have to worry tomorrow if you're going to have a job.
Yep. And
I think that is the coolest thing ever. And we're able to do this. If you think about like our business structure, it's really cool because we're able to do this with the 100 or so people that we have, but we're also able to do it with the thousands of people that we bring in here.
Absolutely.
And so it's a pretty unique position to be motivated by the idea of stable job opportunities for people and just economic stability for people. And then from the company perspective, being able to solve a real problem with a solution that actually works, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Clients don't tend to worry too much about what they pay us at the end of the day because they look at it and they're like, oh, look how much more money I made from having them on my side.
Yep.
And for me, that's what it's all about, like just being a good good resource for the clients and providing all these opportunities to people.
Yeah, well, I can speak on that. I mean, you helped pull me out of public accounting.
Yes.
And, that's kind of how I got my start with my company. And so I owe a great deal to you for that.
Yeah.
And so, I really appreciate everything you do for me and everybody in this company and, and everybody that you bring up. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm definitely glad you got out of public accounting too, because I would be screwed right now without you.
Then I probably would be too.
Can you imagine if some regular accountant had to deal with me? I'd be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to do everything completely differently.
Like, whoa, that's a grenade. All right, let me jump on it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. No, we've had so much fun working together.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me see what else I got for you. Well, you're talking a little bit about the business and stuff like that. Being a business owner, and feeling that responsibility for employing people, giving them sturdy financial jobs, the challenges that come being a business owner. Like, how has that been, your journey as being a business owner from I'm sure you're really, really involved in the business at first, and as you've grown, you've taken different roles. So tell people a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So whenever you first start, you're doing everything. Like you're doing, I would have daily, well, I'm probably not daily because I didn't have enough clients to go anywhere daily, but I would have trips regularly to the UPS store to ship stuff. I was the one printing, making copies, scanning everything, doing all the invoicing. I was just doing all that.
Right. One man show.
Yeah. Taking on the clients, sending out engagement letters, you name it. I did it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that hard. I didn't have that many clients. Yeah. So that's
start out small.
That worked pretty easy. Once every 6 months, you got to send an engagement letter. You'll be okay. Yeah. But no, as we started to grow, I think that one of the things that we've done pretty well is that we have seen the areas where other people could help us the most. And a lot of times the people that are doing the work now are better than I ever was at it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this, but you're way better at QuickBooks than me.
I did know that, actually.
You're way better.
I hope I am. I went to school for a long time for it.
Yes. Yeah. You did go for a long time. But yeah, no, it's just a matter of prioritizing the things that you're trying to hire. And I think that it's easiest to first hire the things that you're doing that don't maximize the value of what you're actually producing. Mm-hmm. So for me, my clients did not see value in me printing checks or in me being the one to mail documents.
Exactly.
My clients saw value in me coming up with the legal strategy and executing the legal strategy. That's all I cared about. So the other stuff is what we hired first. Yeah. And then as you kind of continue to grow, that the scope of that also increases. And so you have to have kind of a mindset shift. It's really easy to hire someone who's good at the things you're bad at, because identifying the things that you're bad at and why you're bad at them is not that tough of a task. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing basketball, which has happened.
We played a lot of basketball together.
We played a lot of basketball together. We have both got hurt a lot of times playing a lot of basketball together. If I'm playing basketball and I'm a terrible three-point shooter, which is not the case.
No.
By the way.
Lights out. Mr. Lights out.
If I'm playing basketball and I'm a terrible three-point shooter, I know that the person I need on my team is a good three-point shooter.
Yep.
Not that hard.
Right.
Now, what's a lot harder is as you continue to grow and to scale your business, to identify the things that you're good at and then hire people that are also good at those things and maybe even better than you at those things to allow you to grow a lot more. And that one also takes a lot of an ego check, because it's man, you've got to really be okay with the fact that you're constantly in a process of replacing yourself.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it makes a better business for your people. It makes a better business more importantly, for your clients. And so it ends up working out well. But that's kind of the process that I've gone through.
Yeah.
And I've done that with almost everything. And so, I've done all that stuff now. Now, a lot of the stuff that I do is related to legal strategy and then growth strategies, which are still two of my favorite things. So,
yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. And then another question is kind of adapting with the new times. So COVID hits, remote work comes online. Everyone wants these remote jobs. It's like a remote work culture. I know that, the law firm is shifting into some of the hybrid model. Like, what are your thoughts on remote work and kind of that new economy that's coming out and what that looks like for the future?
Yeah. I think that remote work can be a very valuable thing just from a dollar perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you have, you're paying $10,000 a month in rent and you don't have to pay $10,000 a month in rent because you've got good, efficient remote employees, then that's great.
Yeah.
The problem with remote work is the checks that are in place to ensure that you don't lose efficiency in having remote employees.
Right.
Now, some of that comes down to the maturity of the employees that you're hiring, the drive of the employees that you're hiring. And in an ideal world, you don't need anything set up to hold them accountable because they're self-accountable. Mm-hmm. They know the job they have to get done, and they care about getting it done as much as you care about it getting done.
Right.
But that's not the reality that we live in.
No.
And so an important thing to have set up for all of your people whenever you're moving to a hybrid or a remote type of work is KPIs. Very clear objectives. Are you doing your job or not? You can tell based off of if you completed these objective KPIs. It's not anything subjective. It's just, is the work being done or not? If not, there's not really excuses to be made.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we benefited from, and I don't, since I've never had a fully remote company, I don't know how people would do this otherwise, is we were able to establish what our baseline standards were by in-office work. Mm-hmm. So we knew how much time a particular task should take based off of how much time it did take when they were in the office. And so that should translate directly to when they're remote.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know how people handle that otherwise.
Yeah, that is tough.
I don't know. I'd probably figure it out if I screwed it up a few times.
Exactly. Problem, we found a solution.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Well, and kind of the last thing on that is the culture. As you continue to grow, I know culture is something very important to you in this firm, and this firm has a great culture. I can speak to that. But you as the leader of this organization and people look up to you for that culture, how have you kind of embraced that with the remote, with the scaling, all this stuff, for you as a business owner, how does that look?
Yeah. Culture has always been an important thing for us. We even in our hiring process, we have what we call a culture committee where we're hiring people trying to make sure it's consistent with our culture and our core values. And we do that by people that are the prospective employees not reporting to the people that are in that. It's just other coworkers. If you fail a culture committee, you don't get hired. That's how it works here. So
that's great.
Yeah, and it works because it gives everyone else accountability to saying that was a good culture fit too.
Yep.
And I like that. Now, how do you make sure that it stays good moving forward? You've got to still have some like cultural related events. There's some really cool stuff that you can do online if you're a fully virtual company. Mm-hmm. Like you can host. I saw this one company that was doing like a magic show, like a virtual magic show, and it was hilarious. So funny, dude. They do like virtual comedy shows and like all these things. Gosh. And and there's companies that are set up specifically for this purpose. And so you'll have like the person that's doing it, and you'll see everyone else's faces on there. And usually these people are really good at engaging the audience. And since you already have a good relationship with these people, it's funnier. Like if there's a comedy show and someone is ripping on you, I will think it's so funny.
I would think that's hilarious too. I want to be a part of that.
I want to too. But it is, And so you gotta actually actively think about your culture, care about your culture, and then also don't make excuses for people that aren't fitting your culture.
Yeah.
If it's not fitting your culture, that's a good reason to get rid of someone. Just because, a bad apple just can ruin a lot more than you realize until you get it out. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, you've done a good job with it. I will say that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So good work on that. Well, kind of shifting into a little bit more immigration related questions now.
All right, let's go. Pop quiz, baby.
Let me get you off of this. So the first is just kind of what advice do you have for businesses or individuals seeking immigration in the United States, with any recent changes or anything like that? Just overall, any advice that you could give any listeners about if you're a business and you want to bring some workers in?
Yeah, so if you're a business and you want to bring some workers in, my advice is obviously just call us.
Just call us. Step one, call Farmer Law.
Exactly. So I guess the first thing to think about is like why? Yeah. Why do I want to do this? And that's a lot deeper question than a lot of people realize, because it's like, okay, why do I want to bring in 50 people to do this particular job? Mm-hmm. Is it because I want to continue to grow my business? Is it because I'm concerned about my reputation? Is it because I actually already have a contract on this job and I better figure out how to do it or else I'm screwed? You've got to really think about why to make sure that immigration is the right option for you. Because, some people might be at a stage in their life where they say, I need to get 50 people because I've always had this number of people during this time of year and I can't find those people now, so I guess I'm going to immigration.
Yeah.
But they might be at a time in their life where they don't want to continue to operate their business at that level. They don't want to go through that trouble. And so they're fine with just reducing the size of their business and living life how they want to live life. But then there's a lot of other business owners that are not okay with that. They want to make sure that they can continue to either grow their business or operate their business at the same scale that they were, and they don't have any other options. And so I think that your first step is evaluating that. And if you realize, okay, I do want these people, the most important thing is actually to reach out to someone that actually knows what they're doing. And not just like, what is this area of law? It's, let me learn about your business and then I'll tell you which, if any, of these areas of law actually apply to you. Mm. That's kind of the much better approach, because otherwise, if you're just calling someone, you have to go through the process of figuring out, okay, what are these different areas of law, and it's not worth it.
Right.
That's what the lawyer's for. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the things I like the most. So I recommend that people go through that evaluation process and then work with someone that's actually done this before and that actually cares about your business, cares about the results as much or more than you do.
Mm-hmm. And have you run into any conceptions about immigration law and stuff like that, like from your clients that they call you and then speak to that at all? Anything that's
Oh yeah. Well, we also have run into misconceptions about immigration from people that have nothing to do with immigration. Like one of my, we've got calls from people just randomly from the internet that are like, now what the hell are you guys doing? Just bringing in all these people and stealing American jobs? We've had receptionists just like so upset by that. You're just out there stealing American jobs. You can just pay Americans to do this. That happens that's happened like multiple times.
That's ridiculous.
And it comes from this general idea that immigrants come here to steal American jobs. That's not the reality. The reality is that all these companies prefer not to hire us. They prefer to just walk down the street and find really good people that are eager to work and can accomplish their business objectives. But that's not the reality. And so they have to hire us.
Yep.
And they have to hire us. And they're grateful at the end of the day they did. But I think that's probably the biggest misconception that I've run into, is that immigrants are here to steal American jobs, at least the way that these guys are folks are petitioned for. That's not the case. You actually have to test the labor market in most instances to make sure that you're not adversely affecting the U.S. workforce. So it doesn't really make any sense. But not going to stop you from pissing off the random guy on white pages.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's an interesting shift, though. It's like the labor shortage, in America, and that's some of these jobs that people just don't want to work.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this. It's a crazy time right now of there is a huge need for what you do at the law firm.
Yeah.
And serving these clients.
Yeah, I saw someone post on LinkedIn like a couple weeks ago that there's not a issue with hiring people right now in terms of the number of people available. The issue is with how you're actually hiring them. And I'm like, that's not true. No. Everyone's experiencing these problems. There's actually a shortage of labor willing to perform certain types of job functions.
Exactly.
Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah. And I mean, a whole other conversation is, how did that happen and how did we get to here where...
Oh, let's talk about these spoiled brats. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, seriously.
Dude, what the hell?
No one wants to work.
People are so soft now. Oh, my gosh.
No one wants to work.
No one wants to work. If you brought back my great-grandpa from the dead and you said, Paul, look at all these jobs. And he's going to be like, well, where are all the people? And then you're going to be like, no, they just don't want it. Like, well, what are they doing? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of
whatever
worms.
they're doing, I'm glad I didn't figure that out in college. I probably want it worked out.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting phenom. Well, cool. Well, maybe talk about some of the biggest challenges that the businesses face when navigating the immigration system and stuff that comes up for farmer law, trying to service the clients.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. The biggest thing that we run into is basically government interference. And that's not to say that government interference is deliberate, because it's not.
Right.
Ordinarily, it's not. At least the main thing that we've run into is, Department of Labor delays, whether that's because they're understaffed or just the time of year, or whatever it is. Department of Labor delays directly impact the timeline on the filing, and so it makes it to where our clients get people later sometimes. Same with the USCIS, embassy appointment availability, like these sorts of things you just run into, you can't control them. Right. And so that's probably the biggest hindrance for people is the unpredictability there. And then the other thing would be regulatory changes. There's kind of this immigration, at least in this regard, is run by the executive branch, whether it's the Department of Labor or Department of Homeland Security. And so they're delegated authority to change regulations, and with that, it changes how the actual programs applied. And so trying to work with employers on fitting that in within their business model, but also making sure they don't run afoul of whatever the actual immigration rule is a constant issue. Yeah. But it's something that we're happy to take on. I mean, it's actually kind of fun. Yeah. Like, I don't like reading, but for some reason, you give me a Department of Labor final rule, I'm all in.
You are a bookworm all of a sudden. That's actually a good question. Is like, how do you keep up with the regulatory changes, and how, everything's always constantly moving and shifting. So how do you keep up with that?
Yeah, so we're a part of a bunch of different associations, and they keep you pretty well updated. Mm-hmm. And then, but they don't give you a whole bunch of detail. And so they'll tell you like, hey, just so you know, this final rule is coming down the pike, or this proposed rule is out there, submit your comments. And what I do is I actually read through it, and then I think about, as I'm reading through it, that the active reading part of it is I'll read through it and think about how it applies to all of our different clients. And I'm pretty familiar with how our clients operate. So it makes it not that difficult, because normally the rule will affect similarly situated employers similarly. And so I'll just go through it, and then we try to advise our clients through webinars or mass emails or reaching out to them directly, just whatever we can do to make sure that they know what's coming down and how it impacts their business.
Yeah, that's excellent. And then what do you think kind of the future of immigration? I mean, as if you think kind of 5 to 10 years, even 20 years, like, where do you see the future of immigration going and changes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm going to guess, through no fault of my own, that due to a declining birth rate, immigration is going to become more and more important.
No fault of your own, indeed.
That's right.
So how many kids do you have now?
Only 4.
Only 4.
Only 4. The oldest one's 6, though.
So we're working on number 5 soon, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, we're not done. God willing, we are not done. I've told my wife for a long time, my whole goal in terms of reproduction is to have so many kids that people think is weird. And right now, I'm on the border.
You're getting there.
But whenever you get to like 6 kids, 5 kids is still like, that's a lot of kids. 6 kids,
something about 6,
yeah, something about being on 2 hands is just weird.
That is what it is.
It is. No, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're getting there.
Thanks, buddy. There, my friend. Yeah, but think about it. Then you average the 2 of us. That's 2 kids.
It's true. Well, it'd be 3.
Until I get when I get to 6,
when you get to 6
I only have 4 right now.
Between us, we're doing great.
Between us, we're not doing great. We're doing remarkably average.
But so you see the birth rate going down in the future.
It is.
And you see
I think that the birth rate in the United States right now is like, Drew, Google this. I think it's 1.8. I think that's the birth rate in the United States.
Which, I mean, it's if you got 1.8 and there's 2.
It's below replacement.
Yeah, below replacement. Yeah, a little bit.
I think 2.3 is maybe replacement.
But even a bigger issue is not even that. It's that the generations aren't wanting to do the jobs that are needed.
That's true.
And I don't see that trend changing either.
No.
right?
No,
If anything, it might get worse. But then you got to complement it with AI coming out.
It's true.
And possibly AI replacing a lot of these, not replacing, but supplementing or changing the whole industry.
Yeah,
right?
and AI, I don't know if AI is going to, I'm sure it will at some point, like alleviate some of the labor issues related to more blue collar work. That's not the ones AI is after in the first place.
No, exactly.
No. You're a copywriter.
Yep.
You are getting put out of work and you are not going to go work for a trash company.
Exactly.
So I think it actually, you're right. I think it exacerbates the problem and there's going to be a lot of people left out there.
Yeah, no, I think it does too.
But the second that AI can pick up my trash, dude, that is gonna, or if it could just incinerate my trash, that would be sweet.
I'm ready to watch that
I
firsthand.
I am too. Just throw it up in the air.
Yeah, maybe the question I have is kind of thinking about maybe a client that you service that you can talk about their journey through the immigration process and kind of how it helped their business.
Sure. Man, I don't know which one to use.
Yeah, and you don't have to use names. You can just say client A or whatever.
Oh, don't you worry. I wasn't about to use a name. So we've had. I'll just kind of tell you what's pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we grow with our clients, and so we'll get a client. They're a small client. Let's say they need 4 people to perform whatever this job function is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they get those 4 people, and they do a great job. Their customers are happy. Their customers start giving them more work. They start adding more people, and it's kind of like a constant cycle like that. So we've got some clients that start with 4 or 5 people, have over 40 now, pretty normal for people to go through that kind of growth trajectory. Wow. And one of the cool things is because a lot of the immigration programs that we use are seasonal or peak load, meaning that you work more during a particular time of year than the other times of year. Yeah. It makes them very elastic, which is really great for companies because that means that they're not having all this unnecessary overhead during the slow months. They have that overhead when they actually need the work done, and that's a big deal for people.
Huge.
And so it makes it to where their business is that much more scalable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty awesome. So that's kind of the normal progression. What I don't see is people start using immigration and then stop using it because they come to rely on it because it works and they get people that want to perform whatever that job is. You're not going to put out a LinkedIn ad and get some copywriter that's so excited to come and do your construction project, but it is it's definitely a cool thing to be in because it does solve a problem. So
yeah, it does. And then so when these guys are coming for the seasonal work, are businesses getting the same guys up every year, and so they're already to kind of know the business, and they can help even train the new guys and stuff like that. So like you said, it's just kind of this avalanche. Yeah, exactly. That just continues to grow.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So they do. Yeah, they'll bring in the same people year after year, and it just helps grow their business. Those people are excited to leave whenever it's cold, but they're excited to be back and make money because they make a killing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such an opportunity, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Tell listeners a little bit about kind of how the wages are determined and just kind of like what that process looks like.
Yeah, so wage determination depends a lot on immigration category. But if you're talking about like H-2A, for example, which is temporary or seasonal agricultural workers, they are either grouped into this statewide adverse effective wage rate, or if they fall under these 7 different job categories: agricultural equipment operators, farm workers that are, like if you're out there picking crops, you're all going to fall into the same wage category. But let's say that you're an agricultural employee that's performing some kind of type of construction or truck driving. Right now, although there was litigation recently filed on this to try to stop this wage rule, right now the way that it is the state workforce agencies applying in a particular SOC code, and then that SOC code, they'll look at the statewide average for whatever that occupation is, and then you'll have to pay those wages. So it could be a carpenter helper, a rebar worker, a truck driver. There's a lot of stuff that falls in there. So that's kind of how it works with H-2A. With H-2B, which is temporary or seasonal non-agricultural workers, the first thing you file is a prevailing wage determination, and in that you disclose what the job duties are, the experience requirements, the counties, And then the Department of Labor references what's called the OEWS wage rates, and which are collected by the Department of Labor every year just to see what the average wage rate is for that occupation in that area. And they apply that wage rate, and that's what you pay your H-2B workers and any corresponding U.S. workers.
Wow. So it sounds like probably from what the workers are used to getting paid and then coming to work at this average rate of in the States, they're experiencing a huge increase in their life.
These people are killing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of why they're so excited for it.
Right.
They're coming up here, and then they make more money over the course of a couple months than they would make over the whole year in Mexico, maybe even a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they make significantly more money here than they do back home. So they're eager to get up here, eager to work, and send that money back to their family, go home, live like freaking kings.
Exactly. I mean, what a solution. The business gets their workers at a reasonable wage, which they'd have to pay anyway, and the guys get such great rates.
Exactly.
So it's pretty awesome.
It works out well.
Yeah, it sure does.
It works out well.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I know you're an accountant.
I am an accountant. I'm a CPA, actually.
You are a CPA.
Yeah.
And you passed the test on your first try.
All 4 of them, 90 or above.
All 4 of them, 90 or above. But anyways, I've got a client.
Okay.
The client has a open position for framing carpentry work. Just wondering if that was something you would be interested in.
Well, my skill set does not quite cater to that. These fingers are used to typing. Not so much hammering.
You do have soft fingers.
I'm not too soft. How would you know?
I don't think those things have touched iron in years.
I lift weights every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you do yoga.
Hey, man, I still exercise.
I don't know. I don't see a lot of construction workers doing a pigeon pose.
Well, they should. Those hips are probably tight.
I don't even know what a pigeon pose is.
Talk a little about that, the working out and kind of your work-life balance and how you've been able to continue to be with your family, to work out and stuff like that while growing such a successful firm.
Yeah, I do definitely work out a lot. I actually started working out because my back was always hurt, and I went to the doctor, and I had a pinched nerve in my back that just wanted to go away. And I went to the doctor, and he said, "No, this doesn't sound smart, but you got to start doing deadlifts." And I was like, "You're right. That doesn't sound smart at all.
That doesn't sound smart at all.
It's not like a terrible idea."
Yeah. That hurts my back just hearing that.
But then he said, "Well, what are you going to risk? Your back already hurts." And I was like, "Pretty good point. Pretty good point." So I started working out because of that.
Interesting.
And since then, my back has not hurt once. So apparently the doctor knows more about health than me.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, I know. Shocking. Shocking. You
You're
want
the
to think. But so I started working out because of that. And I really, really enjoyed that. It's something that's hard. I also work out in the mornings because I hate it. Like I don't like to get up to go work out. And so I make myself because I think it's really good for you to do things that you really don't want to do.
Yep.
And then the days that I get up and I get there and I still don't want to work out, those are the days that I really make it hard on myself because it's like you got to just get over it.
Amazing.
So I've really enjoyed that, prioritized that, and I think it's been good. Now I've got other motivations like I want to be able to throw my 6-year-old around like I throw my 1-year-old around. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to pick her up with one arm if I'm picking up my son with one arm.
Yeah.
And so, because you pick up your kid and you start twisting them. You're doing this little like helicopter thing with your kid. And then your 6-year-old walks up there, half your size. She's like, "Daddy, I want to do it too." And I'm like, "I want you to do it, but I haven't lifted weights today." So I found motivation in that.
Yeah, that is good. Where do you think that drive kind of came from originally to build a successful company, to wake up and work out, to do things that you're uncomfortable with and like push yourself past your limits?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it was childhood, like your upbringing, like nature versus nurture, like what do you think is really a big influence in your life that helped you get to where you are?
I've always been very competitive.
Yeah.
And I think that probably played a role in it.
I can speak to that. You have
I never liked to lose. It was never something that I wanted to participate in. But, I think a lot of it came from that. And then just kind of focusing that. Because like I don't look out in the world and think like, man, they've got a bigger business than me, or
Right.
man, that person's stronger than me. I don't think about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I probably did at some point, but now I just think about it more for myself. Like, no, you can do more than that.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right.
And then also the more that our culture has been okay with the idea of making excuses for things and making just complaints, I wanted to be the exact opposite of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really tried to make a deliberate effort to do that. What about you? Where's your motivation come from?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's also habits. It's like
That's true.
how you build your environment.
Did you just say good question on your own question?
Well, you switched it back on me, so it's a good question. I thought I'm interviewing you here. People want to know about the immigration guy, not the CPA. No, I think for me it was about who I surrounded myself with, and the influential people in my life. Mm-hmm. And so I think being in a good household that taught, good, strong work ethic, and that you need to work for $1, and that, it's important to understand the value of $1.
Yeah.
And then it takes hard work to get to anything worth having is typically pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it worth having.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I can attest to your family really thinking $1 is like really hard to get.
Yeah, we were savers. We didn't go on many vacations.
No, sir.
And we didn't have, there's not much luxury stuff going on. But we lived a great life, a very simple life, and we lived always below our means. I think that was
I completely agree with that.
The biggest thing is that I grew up in a household that was live below your means and watch your pennies, and the dollars will take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great outlook. It's responsible, and it's really cool. And I love that you still have that mentality, especially for me.
Yeah.
Because you're like, Kyle, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Why did you go to Subway? McDonald's is cheaper.
Did you have to sit in first class?
Did I have to go?
Did you have to even go? Exactly. That's what a good financial guy should be doing.
Exactly. You're like, those people don't have a Zoom account?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting though, because it's this concept of living in a mindset of scarcity and abundance.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been working on myself, because growing up, there was a mind of scarcity. Like, okay, watch the dollars, make sure that we don't spend too much. Like, there's a scarce amount of things. The mindset of abundance is there's unlimited money out there, and we just got to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much you spend, because you can always make more.
Yeah.
And I think obviously there's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That's the healthy place to live, because you don't take the money when you die, and you sure as heck don't want to be living in a mountain full of debt or way over your head.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's just an important thing for everybody to try to figure out where that happy medium is for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's probably going to vary a lot based on person and risk tolerance. But then at the same time, like that the world of abundance side of that, that's a much worse place to live if you're just like it. Look, if you've got money and you're living in a life of scarcity, that's fine.
Right.
Like that. The worst case scenario is you're eating too many beans and rice when you could be eating lobster.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's fine.
Things are doing pretty good.
Yes. Whereas on the other side of it, I think the consequences are a lot worse.
A lot worse. So. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So maybe kind of steer towards the responsible mindset.
Yeah, maybe not the middle. Maybe it's like a 30%. On the abundant side, no, on the scarcity side.
Yeah.
On the scale.
Yeah.
Scarce 1, abundance 10. Let's go with the 3.
Yeah.
This is basically I live below my means, but every once in a while I treat myself.
I splurge a little. Bahamas call my name.
Not mine. Don't have a passport.
We're getting you a passport, and we're taking a trip.
No, I don't travel. Got to save that money.
That's true. You got a good point.
Thank you. I'm going to start using that one on you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't go, man. I got to save. That's great. Well, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you having me on the show and this conversation. I think it's great listeners learning more about you, and it's fun checking in with you like this. And seeing
No. We're not done. I appreciate you too. How long have we been doing this, Drew?
44 minutes.
That's easy.
Okay,
All right.
Man, yeah.
What time is our next? I think our thing starts at 2:30.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly, tell people about your business.
All right. Thank you for that. Business is called Financial Synergy, and it's a fractional CFO, controller, or bookkeeping business. Got my start with Kyle here. He was my first client, and I've helped his firm grow exponentially through helping him with bookkeeping, invoicing, reconciliations, financial reporting, SKU analysis, stuff like that. So really, in my business right now, we're really trying to focus in on law firms.
Yep.
We want to help add value to law firms, help them know their numbers. We're familiar with this program called How to Manage, which Kyle was a part of and introduced me to. And so we kind of like to use some of their philosophy and work alongside them to help implement some of the things that they're suggesting to their clients.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that one thing that I love about you and about your business is that you have a full comprehension of all things financial, but you don't stop there. And I think that's where a lot of financial services fall short, is they stop at the reporting. Mm-hmm. They don't actually improve anything, but you improve everything you touch.
Thank you.
Like I'm like, hey, we should probably like look at this. And you're like, no, I did that like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, okay, well that's great. Or if it's something that we're working towards, like you're really good at saying like, okay, this is how it's going to impact these other operational things, and you're particularly talented at that. So I think that that's a huge part of your business and something that people really couldn't possibly understand until they're working with you. So I appreciate all you've done there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I try to be very process oriented, and like you said, how is this going to impact something over here?
Yeah,
and really taking all of the things I've learned and trying to package it into one.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's not just financial, and I think that's where the name comes in, financial synergy. It's like, how do you bring finances synergistically into your business to help fuel other segments and operations?
Oh, that's where that came from? I thought you were just drinking too much one night. and
it's possible that too.
And you Googled cool words.
What's funny is it actually came from my dad. His business was called Synergy.
Really?
Yeah, Synergy Consulting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was doing like food brokering and stuff, and his business was called Synergy.
Yeah.
And so when I started my business, I'm like, man, what should I name my name? I'm like, Financial Synergy. I'm going to take one right off my dad's blog.
Yeah, that's right. No, yeah, okay, so I get it. You and your dad are drinking one night.
Exactly.
And you're like, Dad, I want to start this financial business. What should I do? And knowing your dad, the first thing he said was, Synergy.
Yeah, you're pretty much on point with that.
You're like, wow, okay, that makes sense now.
Looked up on the Secretary of State. It was available.
Boom, baby.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the website is financialsynergy.co. Because someone did take financialsynergy.com, which I wasn't too happy about.
No. But this is an important point. Did
Okay.
you go get some broker to overpay for a domain?
No.
Absolutely not.
No,
sir.
Not. Absolutely not.
No. We just drop the M.
Exactly.
We drop the M. We're in business.
Look me up. .co. It's company. It's a company.
Now, not .com.
No.
Those people suck.
Those are the worst.
They are the worst company I have never not worked with.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know nothing about.
I know nothing about.
But I know .co is way better.
And they might be okay. We don't know. But I do know .co is the best.
Well, I appreciate the shout out. Thank you, Kyle.
Yes, of course. Thank you all for listening to the Immigration Guy podcast. We really appreciate it. You can find us on our website. Go to www.farmerlawpc.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search @KyleFarmerFLPC. You can find our law firm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. All you have to do is search for @FarmerLawPC. Go ahead and subscribe to download all the episodes of our podcast. You can download them and listen to them whenever and wherever you want. We'll be releasing new episodes every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, which is apparently a real thing, Amazon Music, Google, and wherever else you get your podcast. This is not legal advice, so any information that you get from this podcast should not be taken as such. If you are looking for legal advice, you should consult with a competent attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. If you want to schedule a consultation, just go ahead and use the link in the description of this episode. Thank you.